All right. Thank you very much for thank you very much, Dr. Amy, for honoring the invitation. Well, I always like to have maybe an interaction before we get into what we had for today. Uh, Good afternoon once more, Dr. Amy. Uh,
Yeah, good afternoon.
we're happy to have you today on set on LabTalk podcast. So I would say it's a rare privilege because talking with somebody that has over 20 years of experience is not given to everybody, especially in this domain. It's not given to everybody. In my country, I would say I've never met someone with over 20 years of experience, except my former director where I worked before this present job. So I'm really happy to I'm really happy for you to join us today. And today we'll be discussing on a very interesting topic, which is career pathways in laboratory sciences, right? I'm just going to drink a little bit from the well of knowledge that you have, the experience that you have acquired over the years, and so that everyone, not just me, should learn from what you have acquired in terms of experience over the past years. So, my first question is, how do you feel about the session?
At least, well, the starting has been beautiful because there's a way you meet someone and there is this struggle to communicate but the atmosphere has been okay and we've been able to start on a good note. So, kudos to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Receiving a kudos from a senior colleague. I'm just smiling. Well,
that's fine.
thank you very much. So we're just going to step into our first segment of the session. So I'd like to know, Dr. Denise, how has her journey been to this present point, being the head of the diagnostic department of a very big company in Nigeria, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, right? So how has the journey been so far? Just kindly introduce yourself to us.
Okay. As usual, I'm Dr. Funny enough, my full name is Imomoemi Thompson. But
Mm.
being that my first name is so long, most people right from the beginning, we shortened it to Amy, as in Amy is the short form. So I just go by Dr. Amy Thompson, and I tell people that, most people will say they entered into medical laboratory science because they wanted to study medicine. They didn't give them medicine in the university, so they had to choose medical laboratory science. But I think I'm one of the few people that wasn't my own experience. I actually had an uncle that studied medical laboratory science, and people ask that, and that's because of him. That's why even not only did I choose medical laboratory science, I already knew the specialty I was going to go into when I was before I entered university because he majored in chemical pathology. So, having someone that you are your uncle around me. One of these days when I wanted to write my jam, I spoke with my dad was trying to look at the medical courses I want for me to choose, and I had access to that my uncle, and he told me so much about medical laboratory science and chemical pathology that when someone sells the course very well to you, I told myself that this is the course I want to study. It was because of him I registered and jam and I failed and I got into university. So right from my year one, I already knew that I was majoring in chem parts. So when others were like, "Which one will you I said, "No, I'm majoring in chem parts because what drew me into medical laboratory science, the person that drew me into this profession is a chemical pathologist and is actually a lecturer." So over the years, that in university, the university days flew by fast. For me, I think I was one of those students that, we knew, year one, we kind of floated, but over time, we knew the importance of graduating with a good grade. I was able to graduate, I think, with a 2-1, but just few points still for me not getting a first class. And then I stopped with that because my year one, I didn't know the importance of CGPA. So by the time I got to know about my year two,
Yeah.
I didn't have any CGPA that was less than 4.5, but somehow that's my GPA in year one kind of dragged me down. But in the course of, doing your, will I say, my hospital posting, there's one thing that struck me that helped, change my idea of medical laboratory science. For me, will I say, there were two stages in my career, in my university, will I say, period, that helped change my understanding of this course. Well, I say three. The first one is that discussion with my uncle that made me choose medical laboratory science as a course. Then when we got to year two, we had this long break as a result of strike. And during that period, I was at home, doing nothing. I was bored. So my dad had a friend that worked in a company then that was in charge of HR. So he was like, "Can my daughter come and do IT here, as in to pass time instead of staying at home?" So that was when I was able to get an IT placement in NNPC. Funny enough, it was NNPC. So I got an IT placement in NNPC. And when I got the IT placement, initially they didn't even post me to the lab. Initially, I was posted to the quality assurance laboratory. That's where they do quality control for petroleum products. So that was the first time I knew that, okay, as a medical laboratory scientist, I can actually work somewhere else that's not really the core clinical lab, because they posted me to their QA QC lab, where when petroleum products come, you'll be able to assess, because every crude oil that comes, you need to grade it to know what's level and things like that. If there are impurities, even the water that they use in the refinery to work, because it has to be free from impurities, we need to test it. So I was able to work there for some time. So that was my first experience as a scientist, as a student, not actually working in the clinical lab. So I think my first experience as a medical laboratory science student was working in a lab that was not in the hospital. So that was then over time, I now told them that I wanted to have clinical experience. So they now transferred me to because as an IT student, they can post you around. So they now
Yeah.
posted me to their clinic, the plant clinic laboratory. So during that period, I was able to have experience of both the QC/QA lab, which was not the core medical lab, and the clinical lab there in their facility. So I think that was one point in my career that I had a light bulb moment that made me see options. Then by the time I got to year four, when we are doing our clinical posting, I now went to the teaching hospital, then the government hospital in my state, and when I got there, it was like will I say a change? It was like will I say a reality change? Because what I saw in terms of the practice of medical laboratory and what I had experienced in that my period of posting during that my during when I had that long strike period that was like an IT placement was totally different. One, in the approach in terms of the hospital laboratory, then because it was a company laboratory, it was more advanced. The respect and the cordiality, the relationship between the clinical personnel in the facility. We didn't have this thing of where you get to teach us to rivalry between doctors and scientists.
Yeah.
There was this. Everybody knew that everybody was important. The equipment, the environment. When I saw the way the scientists dressed to work, and the way the scientists and teachers, they just come very, the way they dress. So there were so many things. It was like two different, experience. And at that point, that was the second light bulb moment that told me that yes, I've seen an opportunity whereby a medical laboratory scientist can work anywhere beyond. It mustn't be in the hospital. And even when I had there's in the hospital, there is a standard you need to have. That I didn't want that government hospital standard. People come to work anytime they like, they do anything they want. So I didn't tell my friends, but in my heart, I told myself that I'm not going to work in the government hospital. That's no, no, no. So at that point, I didn't tell anybody. Sometimes when you have an idea or a vision, sometimes when you've not developed it, there's no need sharing. So I didn't even tell my friends that this is what I was thinking based on my experience I had like 2 years ago. So that was another experience that helped shape my mentality of, how my professional career went through. Then finally, I would tell people that when I went for youth service, when you go for youth service, we have the medical team. in the drive from the camp in Nigeria.
Mhm.
So all the medical personnel, doctors, pharmacists, laboratory scientists, we are all posted to the camp clinic, whereby you'll be able to offer health services to your fellow corps members in the camp for that 3 weeks.
Mhm.
And I was very fortunate to meet a doctor there. You know, I'm someone that I have this conversational skill whereby I'm very good in conversation. So, we got talking, and he started sharing his ideas for me. He was like, "This is his NYSC period," but he now told me that this is what he's targeting. There are some certifications I need to do. There are some things I need to do because he didn't want to be a core clinical doctor. He said he knew he didn't want to practice in the hospital.
Mhm.
So he started telling me that he needed certification. So that was the first time I was hearing that, okay, beyond your degree, that if you want to, go outside, become extraordinary by the time you are finishing NYC, that you need to put some certain things in place. So because of him, there are some Nigerian Institute of Management, so many things I enrolled in during NYC, because when you see someone telling you, I want to enroll in this, I want to do this certificate, you ask yourself,
Are you really
me, I should,
serious?
uh, you understand? So when
Mhm.
I saw that ambition and drive in him, and he was one that was able to make me know that beyond your degree, there are other things you need to add if you want to specialize in a certain way. That so that when you get to the job market, it gives you an edge over the next person. And so that contact with that third person helped me, because I was able to, when my fellow core members, or most of them were just, having fun throughout that 1 year, I was writing professional courses because of, I'll ask him, which one did you enroll in? Tell me, since I didn't really know, he would tell me. And he was someone that I'm very grateful to him, because he was someone that was open. Some persons don't share
Mhm.
such information.
Okay.
So that was it. So yeah, so he was able to share those. So by the time I was coming out from the university, I'm coming out from youth service and time to apply for a job, I already knew what kind of job I wanted. So even when my fellow colleagues, my classmates in university were running from government, they'll tell me this job is opening. I'll tell them that no, because I already knew that I was going to work in NNPC, ELF, Shell, LNG, as in the oil company, oil and gas companies
Yeah.
in my organization. So those were my targets. I already knew. So even when they tell Acheva, so I already listed the company. So even when they'll tell me this person is employing, there's an advert, I won't just outrightly say no, but I'll say, I'm not
I'm not
interested,
feeling it.
because I already knew where I was going to. And funny enough, when we went for the interview, I tell people that when I went for my part, when NNPC advertised, I was like, yes, this is one of the companies that is among the list of places I want to work as a medical laboratory scientist. And for me, because I was prepared, because I tell myself when I went for the interview and up to test, I saw my senior colleagues in the teaching hospital. They came for that application, that job interview, and even the oral interview. I saw them. In short, some of them I was even hiding because these were scientists that had more experience than I did. I tell people that when I applied for that job, funny enough, the job advert says 10 years experience.
Wow.
It said there's many things it said, but
Mhm.
this is this young girl that didn't have any serious experience except this experience I had as a student, my hospital posting. And one thing I did before my NYSC, when I was waiting for my posting, I went to work in a private lab for free to gain practical knowledge. So that one, I knew that the essence of going there was I wanted to gain practical knowledge and understand the bench very well. Because when you're in university, you know how the whole
Yes.
practical is. There's so
What is
much people, so you don't have
what
time.
is that? Yes.
Yes. So when I went for job hunting. I tell them that, see, I don't have much experience. I don't want you to pay me, but I want you to teach me.
Mhm.
So I was interested in being mentored, not being paid. So I was fortunate that one person, someone employed me. So I was able to learn so much during that period. And I tell people that it helped me because by the time I was getting to my NYSC, I was not like a fresh scientist. I already knew what I was doing. So I said, where they posted me during my NYSC, there was no laboratory in that. It was a government general hospital and they didn't have a laboratory. But as an NYC core member, I was the person that established the laboratory. When they posted me there, I was the one that went to do market intelligence for them, costing of equipment, procurement of the equipment. I started the laboratory.
Wow.
So you can see that because I had gotten that experience, if I had not gotten that voluntary experience,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been able to know how to start up a business, as in start up a laboratory. So that was an onus on my experience. So me coming, I don't have so many years of experience, but I'm coming to an interview panel and telling them that I have started a laboratory. And the laboratory I started is a government laboratory. So you are not telling, so you can, it's something that is verifiable,
Yeah.
and it's something that they know that a government hospital will not just want to set up anything.
Mhm.
So they can imagine that this young girl with that short period, she may not have up to 10 years, but I can bet you that most of the scientists that came on that interview that may have had 10 or 15 years of experience in the teaching hospital where they practice, then it was manual. If you're on glucose, you're only on glucose, fasting blood sugar. Or maybe you're just on glucose bench, so you do fasting round up to HPP. The person that is on urea, you are doing only urea. The person on creatinine is doing only, that's how they do, because they employ so many people and give them one parameter since it's manual, so that you are able to carry out the job faster. But you can see that one, I had gotten to a private facility that because I wanted to learn. The private facilities, they've taught me so many things. After that, I've gotten to the government, I've established a government laboratory. This is a fresh graduate, and I have evidence because it's an NYSC certificate, which I was given an award for. Three, I am coming with professional certifications that these scientists don't have. So beyond my degree, you are seeing this young girl coming with Nigerian Institute of Management certification. You are seeing her with safety certification. You are seeing her. So at the end of the whole thing, they did not even. I'm sure they'll be like, it is better we have this young person that doesn't have so much experience that she can work better for us than these people with 10 years of experience with no impact. So at the end, they flung aside. They did not look at me not having that 10 years of experience um, requirements. And I was the only person that was chosen. We are over like 1,000 scientists, and they chose me. And I was the one that didn't even have, based on my experience, you would say it's just post NYSC, but I was taken for the
Wow.
position.
Good.
So, 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 so that's why I tell scientists, I mean, that it's one thing to say you are practicing this profession, but what makes you competitive? What makes you have an edge over the next person? What makes, because even when I'm telling them that I've done an internship in a quality control lab. This is oil and gas industry. They'll be excited that she's not only clinical based, she understands that in the oil and gas industry, we have other laboratories that are not in the healthcare sector, which is their quality control laboratory. And maybe the other scientist that is coming for that position just has medical laboratory experience. So these are the foundations that most medical laboratory scientists don't have because they don't know these opportunities. But funny enough, other professionals, they are aware of it. The pharmacists are aware of it very well. That is why if you see the pharmacist professional, they are in so many industries in um, when it comes to normal this, you don't see them only in healthcare sector. You see them in pharmaceutical, you see them in sales, you see them in IT, you see them everywhere because they've come to understand that with their pharmaceutical, being a pharmacist doesn't limit them. Even the doctors too are aware. That is why when you go to NGOs, you will see doctors. You go to public health you go, in short, someone was telling me that if you look at our NCDC, there's a diagnostic position, and it's not being run by a medical laboratory scientist. It's being headed by a doctor because the scientist doesn't may not even know that they can get a job in that establishment. So I think that's one of the things that, and because we are limited, that I think that was basically how my career, that made me understand that with my career, I can't limit myself. I can't limit myself, and that has been it. And every opportunity I've had, over the years, I've seen how I'm adding one thing that makes me competitive and not box me in terms of being a medical laboratory scientist. So basically, that's how I was able to get masters, my PhD. Even my after my PhD, people when I wanted to do an MBA, they asked me, "Why are you doing an MBA? Why don't you do masters in
Biotechnology.
masters in
Always with.
health management.
Mhm.
Yes. They wanted me to do that instead of an MBA, I would have done masters in health management. And I told them that that means if I do masters in health management, I'm limiting myself to the hospital. But if I do a master's in business administration, that means with all the experience I've gained, I can manage any business in any sector or any industry. So that is strategic thinking. So in short, there was a scientist that was with me when I now spoke with her. She's my PA. She had to quickly go and change her admission letter because she was like, madam, why are you not doing health management? I now had to say, okay, I needed to share my insight to her. I said, with an MBA, I can still head in a healthcare establishment,
Mhm.
but I can diversify beyond the healthcare industry. But with the health management, that means I'm telling myself, I'm limiting myself to the hospital. And that's how most scientists think. We just limit ourselves to the bench. So I've been someone I've always limited thinking, I'm always thinking of the next opportunity and what next I need to do to grow my establishments. So, like in my organization now, on a normal day, you don't expect a laboratory scientist to head the radiology unit because in diagnostics, that means you're heading both laboratory and radiology. And beyond the laboratory and radiology, there are other commitments like the team lead in strategic sourcing. That means so right now, in terms of procurement, I'm the secretary of the committee that procures medical reagents, consumables in my establishment. I said quality management system. I'm the team of that committee, so I'm the one that ensures that we've gotten ISO certification, maintaining it. So the responsibilities I'm now handling are beyond day to day, laboratory activities. In short, my laboratory activities is my supervisor that actually carries out the day-to-day lab working for me because I've been able to show competence through my not any opportunity to acquire knowledge, to learn, you understand, and position myself, so that I don't limit myself to that. Hey, she's just head of the lab. No, 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 no. So that's just like what my career, how I started, and when I say the things that shaped my own idea of being a medical laboratory scientist and has helped me grow my career till now.
Wow. Like, wow, I'm so impressed. Wow, I just everyone would just hear this particular. I'll call it the gospel. I'll call it the gospel because it's so amazing the journey from day one, yeah, placement and everything, learning from senior colleagues and especially the doctor that inspire you, the online courses. I would say that the stories are almost similar, right? But I was
Yes.
also taught by someone who gave me this single statement that it's better to have a certificate that you don't need than to need a certificate that you don't have. I was like,
Yes.
I will just go all in. That's where I began going in for the online courses. I started with the free courses, then went into the paid courses, like that, to this present moment. So the
Yes.
never ends, truly. The learning really never ends. So you are
Yes.
just a perfect example of that particular story. And we thank you for that. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
So inspiring.
You're welcome.
So
Thank you.
inspiring. So we're going to start with my first question. And my first question is kind of very controversial to what the common student would think. Is there really something apart from laboratory bench?
Of course, anybody that has been listening to me recently will know that, of course, from what I said from the beginning part of my, introduction about how I started my career journey,
Mhm.
you know that yes, the medical laboratory scientist has a lot of opportunities beyond the traditional bench role. But most times I tell people that the traditional bench role is very important. So even if there are a lot of opportunities beyond, the traditional bench role, your understanding and grasp of the traditional bench role will help you explore other career pathways beyond the bench better. And someone will ask me why. Most times, those opportunities that are coming to you, because yes, there are opportunities beyond the bench, those opportunities that are coming to you outside the traditional bench role, they are, will I say, they need that foundational skill of your being, knowledgeable about what happens in the bench. For example, if you're going to go into public health and NGO, epidemiology, and surveillance. For you to be able to go into public health, I have scientists that are working, one of my mentees is now in one of the NGOs and is working as a public health specialist. They go to the field. One, they need to still collect samples. Sometimes they carry out public health studies. They want to see what is the impact of certain things in a particular environment, maybe children malnutrition. They want them to carry out sampling to be able to know how is the protein or albumin status of children in that environment. So if you don't even know how to collect sample as a medical laboratory scientist and you are there, what is your input in that committee, in
Yeah.
that particular job? You understand? Then beyond that, when you go for public health, you need to go for health enlightenment. When you understand, the clinical implication based on your lab diagnosis of certain health conditions, it's easy for you to explain to people. It's not like something you're cramming. When you carry out, maybe there's a particular population that they realize that women in this environment, maybe they tell you to go to a place whereby there's a high rate of maybe childhood mortality during pregnancy for women, and they want you to go and talk to them about the importance of enrolling in maybe early antenatal and the rest, the effects. So you as a medical laboratory scientist, you've done antenatal, you've done this, the screening test for people of women for antenatal, your urinalysis to check for protein, your HB to check for anemia and the rest. It's easier for you to tell that pregnant woman that, see, going to antenatal is in a public health facility is different from going for maybe antenatal in a traditional birth attendant, because one, these investigations they do, you now tell them about urinalysis. Urinalysis, if they can detect protein, that some people that die during childbirth is because of preeclampsia. And preeclampsia cannot be diagnosed by looking at the woman outwardly. You need to do her urinalysis and see protein in her urine. So it will help you know that, yes, this woman is a potential for, preeclampsia and things like that. So I feel that yes, there are a lot of opportunities that exist for medical laboratory scientists beyond the bench, but it's still important that every medical laboratory scientist, even if you want to explore roles beyond the bench, you need to know your traditional bench processes, because it's going to help you become a better scientist wherever you find yourself in. So that's just what I was saying.
Wow. Thank you very much for for that answer. Thank you very much. Oh, for sure, there are several other opportunities like you've said. And I would like to recount a situation that happened to me. I think that was a year ago. I stumbled upon an opportunity as a laboratory scientist in the brewing industry. Our brewing industry is called Brazeries. I was like,
Yeah.
how? I was so shocked. I was like, how did these people need a laboratory scientist? I was like, are these people serious? I went through the document. I was like, they listed all the requirement, the qualification, and all of it matched what we were taught in school. I was like, really? So I was so
Yes.
surprised, and I did not really pay attention. I was like, this is a scam. Let me know. Oh my head. So I just let the opportunity go until some years after that, I had to maybe like, wow, so the opportunities around every work sector that can involve maybe a laboratory scientist to do one or two there. So I was really like, oh, if I knew, like I
Yeah.
my house by now.
Yes, a lot of us miss these opportunities because I'm a Christian. There's this scripture that resonated with what we're saying. It says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge, lack of wisdom." So when you're not knowledgeable about certain informations, that's why, like, you look at the brewery industry, they have a. I always help with starting from the basic QCQA. If there is nothing else that you can do beyond the bench, quality assurance and quality control, because every manufacturing industry is going to have a quality assurance laboratory that will carry out quality assurance and quality control on their products. And who is the best person that is specialized in quality control? Is it not the medical laboratory scientist?
Yes.
You find out that they may even prefer a medical laboratory scientist over someone else. The reason why is because they know that when we deal with quality assurance and quality control,
Mhm.
because we have been dealing with life, we are very careful
Mhm.
in ensuring that our QCs pass.
Yeah.
We don't want, because our own, we are dealing with life. So imagine someone that is so grounded in QC that has to do with life, because any error in his QC will make him release a result that can affect the life of somebody. So that means when it comes to, specificity and precision and ensuring the accuracy of anything, we are the gurus in that field. So if somebody is in an organization that you want to ensure a standard of, maintain the standard of your production, whatever you're producing, you prefer a medical laboratory scientist that is specialized in quality control and quality assurance. So with that, the brewery industry, because you need to ensure that that's whatever you're manufacturing, that same standard, free from infection, everything. So you see, brewery industry, oil and gas, manufacturing. I think I say as simple as people that manufacture biscuits, people that manufacture slippers. Because whatever you, as far as you're manufacturing something,
Mhm.
you need to maintain a standard. Because just imagine if today the taste of Coca-Cola is like this, tomorrow it is tasting more sugary.
Mhm.
It will no more be the Coca-Cola,
Now we
you
know.
know. Yes. So if any medical laboratory scientist wants to start with saying, what is the first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to beyond the bench? At that point, I said, you can leverage your skill and experience. So because you have the skill in quality assurance and quality control, what you just need, one or two online certifications to back that's your skill, that will prove to them that yes, beyond being a medical laboratory scientist, yes, we know you are good in this thing, and you also have a something to show that I am this thing, and you can work in almost anything that has to do with manufacturing or producing something.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. By saying that, you've just answered the next question that I was supposed to ask, which was on the different career paths that a laboratory professional can follow, maybe after working on the bench, and maybe you are feeling tired. And you have just answered that. You mentioned QC. And we are not going to let everything out of the back. We still have beyond the bench that is coming up. So I think you should just give us like some highlights. Wow.
Okay. Yes. So for me, apart from a QC and QA officer, another thing we can leverage on based on the skill we do in our day-to-day job as medical laboratory scientists is safety. Because in the laboratory, because we are dealing with biological samples, we know that our samples, and we deal with sharps, deal with hazardous things. Even some of the machines we work with have radioactive materials, some of our equipment. So who else is going to be the best person to implement safety? Because in what we do, if you do not know how to implement safety in your job as a medical laboratory scientist, in the course of your career, you get infected with one thing or the other.
And so I've seen
So
a lot of
because
professionals like that.
yes, so because we are trained in infection prevention and HSC safety, you can also implement safety in other organizations because you have that skill. So that's another thing you can do, HSC. I
Interesting.
tell people that beyond that, you look at your this thing. I said you can. I talked about the first as in public health,
Mhm.
because especially the microbiologist is dealing with infections, is dealing with this thing, this microbial this thing, microorganisms and things like that. So you find out that a lot of organizations that do surveillance, mapping, so things like in quote, if it's Nigeria, we call them NCDC, they have a lot of positions that you can work in terms of a public health specialist, a surveillance officer, an epidemiologist. So these are things, even to as simple as research. Right now, there are a lot of pharmaceutical company. I think last week or was it week before last, there's a homegrown DCL. It's an IVD manufacturing company in my country. They just initially they used to it's owned by medical laboratory scientists, so you can go into manufacturing business. Initially, they used to just get proprietary rights from original equipment manufacturers and reagents, across the world, and they sell in Nigeria. And I think they have in Ghana, they have offices in certain parts of Africa. But currently, he decided that these things that we are importing to sell, we can make them in country.
Mm.
So currently, he manufacture okay for his equipment. He does assembling because they've not started manufacturing in Nigeria. What they do is they get the prototype and they assemble in Nigeria.
Mm.
But the reagents that we use in running the analyzers, the RDT, so he now manufactures them in
Wow.
country. So you can, and the people that are running those his manufacturing plants, so people that carry out the manufacturing of the RDTs, the chemistry reagents, your glucose reagents for your hematology analyzers, they are medical laboratory scientists. So you can see that we can also work in, manufacturing industries that has to do with
Mm.
both reagents and then beyond that, research, because like in his factory they have the research section, because each time you need to research for new updates, improvement of your product. So beyond research in terms of the diagnostic environment, you can work in research. COVID period, we're looking for the diagnosis of COVID. So laboratory scientists were there. Funny enough, laboratory scientists outside Nigeria or outside Africa, they've been doing. You find them in research organizations. You find them in manufacturing industries. So I think more or less in Africa, that's where you find us that we are just limited. Then you find out that the people that occupy such positions are those that maybe read microbiology, those that read pharmacy and the rest. But the medical laboratory scientists in Africa, we kind of just didn't know that those opportunities in those organizations or industries were for us. And I tell people that it's very important to know that those positions and openings that are available in such places are also for us. I think I've been able to list out as much as I can,
Wow.
especially that we should be working with time.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. There are so many on and on. Just that, just like you said, my people perish for lack of knowledge. The more knowledgeable you are about this particular opportunities, the more you take advantage of them. So that's it. We'll go straight to
Yeah,
the.
before your next question, I
Mhm.
let me just even chip in that I have a guide. It's free. I think my website link, I dropped it for my page. If not, normally I have a website. Maybe I'll send it to you so you can send to those that are interested. I call it my 50 non-bench job rules for medical laboratory scientists. It's a free guide. They just download it. It tells them 50 different opportunities. I've listed them. So if I tell people you can start with that. It's not like something you pay for. Just so imagine me listing about 50. So at the top of my head, we have 50 different, jobs qualifications that medical laboratory scientists can fit into. So I
Wow.
think that will help, enlighten your followers or people that listen to your podcast. If they want to download, I'll send you the link to this so that you can maybe put it on the podcast or something link so that they can download it. It's free. They're
Wow.
not paying any money for it.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I would love to really have that. Work with my
Yeah.
team so that we'll have that because I'm working with a team of people. Doing all of this thing like that is not easy. I started the first episode alone, and the more I did it, so I have the third episode doing the graphic design, the video editing,
It's
hosting.
not easy.
I was like, Jesus, I cannot do
No,
it.
you burn out.
So I had to bring in some other people so that we can assist. So after this, I'll hand it over to the next person for the editing and all the other activity. So that
That's beautiful.
and talking about the opportunities and the various positions that many people are taking advantage of. I've read the history of SynLab. SynLab, I don't know if you know SynLab.
Yes. Yes, I do know SynLab.
I read the history of SynLab and I was like, wow, group of five scientists coming together, building this empire because I call it an empire.
Yes.
Because there are over 60 countries, if I do remember
Yes.
well, and they have network of laboratory. I think that's the same thing that Lancet Laboratories does.
Yes. Yes. That's
Lancet and
simple.
every other, there are so many of them that are just around Africa building laboratories, creating branches here and there. And I was like, what? These people are really serious. And these people are scientists. They are not working
Yes.
on brain anymore.
they are now in the business sector of, that's the second part of, that's one of the topics we included in this masterclass. That's laboratory entrepreneurship. So just beyond just working in laboratory, because from the experience Dr. Nancy shared with me, found out that most people, they want to work in silos as medical laboratory scientists. So they want to be like, they just open one mushroom lab and say we are the one in charge doing everything. And you can't you expect them to compete with laboratories like
Yeah,
Lancet and SynLab
like
that, these are groups. So yeah, so she said when you talk about beyond the bench, it's not everybody that wants to leave the laboratory totally, but those that want to even go into the laboratory, the business part of laboratory, they need to be able to know how to do it well. And funny enough, the person we are targeting is, I think, somebody that is in SynLab. Hopefully, we get him
yeah.
to
I,
anchor.
I know the person you are talking of.
So I hope we get him,
You
or
mean
we
you
have
mean
another.
you mean Mr. Kenneth, right?
Yes, we are
So
hoping we get him to
all right.
anchor that section, as and that would be so that he's able to make us know how to run a
Mhm,
laboratory as a business that has standard.
mhm.
It,
Uh,
it, it will be it will be something that, because if I'm talking from my own experience, mine will not be easy for people to practicalize, because you say we have the backing of an oil and gas company. So
yeah.
when we talk about finance and the rest, so I thought, because my for NNPC we have 7 base hospitals, 7 labs across the country and things like that. But I think that will not be I won't be a good example of a business case, because you say you have the people that own you
Mhm,
are in the oil and gas industry, so you
yeah.
can't compare it with. So, but someone that is coming from the base of this is a medical laboratory scientist, these are laboratory scientists that
Mhm,
did this. We felt that this is something that people need to hear, because every day you see also people want to just, when they graduate, one open one this, and before you know it, they bring out results that even cause more confusion and make.
yeah.
I had the other day, some people chatted, one or two people chatted me at my DM. She said they've given her about 3 or 4 um this thing result for her genotype. Some will say SS,
Hey,
SC.
what?
So so I had to now refer her to
Uh,
Sinlab, because she couldn't,
yeah.
she can't, because where she's located, my
Mhm,
hospital doesn't have, because we use the HPLC method for genotype 2, but my hospital doesn't have, we don't have my hospital location is not where she stays. But
mhm,
because I know that Sinlab has a
mhm,
vast network,
yeah.
so I had to direct her that at least if she goes through the directory, she'll be able to see the one closest to her. And I know that the average person will not be able to afford that HPLC. But if people can, as you said, combine base, and we'll be able to build something awesome, we'll be able to get standard equipment.
Mhm,
You understand that you'll be able
yeah.
to give our results that we'll be proud of.
Wow. That's so true. And if I would like to maybe tag somebody that you can bring into the beyond the bench, how do I say, guest speakers, I would say he was more versed with the financial aspect of building laboratory.
Okay.
Is Mr. Ifeanyi, Precious Ifeanyi. You can get
Okay.
to. I
Maybe
think
you send me his contacts. Let me check him too, because I'm sure most people are already used to Mr. Kenneth too. So you can still send it. And we have other series that because it's not, we decided that it's not going to be a one-off series. So it's something that by God's grace, periodically we bring in more people. You understand? So that let's see how we can build, the new generation of medical laboratory scientists coming up.
for sure. He's actually a great person because I listened to his presentation during the last seminar that was hosted by Mikem. So I
Okay.
listened to the presentation. I was like, really? There are really things that we really need to consider when establishing a laboratory. And
Yes.
social aspect is something that many people neglect. And he really
Yes.
expanded on it so much that I think I really need to go and get the recording since the session was a recorded session
Yes.
with the platform so that I keep it. That's precious information.
No, it is.
All right, thank you very much for that. We'll get into the next question. So we're still talking about career in medical laboratory sciences. So if you have maybe a student that just graduated from school, what are the practical steps, maybe 5 years plan? What are the practical steps they are going to tell a student to maybe take or put in place so that he is on an edge when he's competing with other professionals in the marketplace? What are you going to tell that professional?
The first thing I'll tell that professional is it would be fortunate if I met the professional when the professional is still in school. So if it's a student, I'll tell them that one, they should utilize their clinical posting period very well. Because most times students see it as a period to you're not going to university lecture, you just want to gallivant. But it's very important that they utilize that period because and when they utilize that period, they should use it to volunteer for responsibilities. I'll give you a typical example. I had one of our interns in my that's one of our young graduates that came to do an internship in my facility, and because she was dedicated and she was interested in quality control, in my establishment, we have this BARAD, IQC and EQC. So our daily controls are from BARAD. So we have blind samples. So every day we have to input our results in the software so that we have interlaboratory comparison daily before you run the test. And she was interested in, being the one that would input it, check it. And, for me to daily, she's seeing the Levingeni chart, she's seeing, all the informations with the software. That exposure made her tell me, by the time she was leaving her intern, she told me that she was traveling out to relocating, but she was like, she already knew what she wanted to. She wanted to major in that sector, QC and QA, because she had been able to see something beyond just carrying out the fasting blood sugar, and the rest. That extra assignment she did exposed that to something else in the laboratory. So I always advise the young scientists that allow yourself experience other things beyond just doing your day-to-day bench work. Most times it's not easy because you see it as added assignments. You understand? So maybe if you get close to your QC or QA officer, or you have an IPC infection prevention control officer in the lab, get close to him. Learn what it is when he's giving trainings. Learn what's because once like in my laboratory, once you come, we pass you through your induction. You pass you through the normal IPC training. You go to HSC. You go around these various induction places to be able to be grounded. You go to our QMS officer that will tell you about QMS. So if you are fortunate enough to have a system whereby you see these certain aspects of the laboratory that is not just the core laboratory investigations that you studied in school, please expose yourself to them. The reason why it's important because it gives you an idea of what other opportunities I may fall in love with in the laboratory. And if you're able to find out, even beyond even your clinical, this if you're in the hospital, I tell them, interact with the pharmacist, interact with the doctors, interact. Because I believe that that period of, your hospital posting, your internship, is a period of discovering what you want. You understand? It's a period of discovering. And I believe that you only discover by exposing yourself to things. But because most times we see young professional, young students, they see this extra assignment like this my madam or this my oga wants to carry their work and give to me. So you see certain people wanting to, dodge from those assignments. But if you have met anybody that has, immersed themselves in that process, whereby it's either they interacted with the IPC officer in the laboratory, or the safety officer, or in the QC officer, or you interacted with the pharmacist, beyond just normal gisting, but what their, or what their profession is all about, to interact with the doctor. I think in the space of those interactions, you'll be able to see things that may be of interest to you. As I told you, it was my interaction with the doctor that I realized that I could actually, get certifications for things that I know that will back up the skills I know as a medical laboratory scientist that will make me competitive. It was my interaction. So for us to interact to that extent, that means we didn't interact about just normal gist. We interacted about things that had to do with, he told me about things about career progression, how to, position himself. himself for the next thing. So these are, interactions that are focused, because I know that most times we interact with our fellow interns that are pharmacists, but it's normal gist as in how you do, boy, how was work, all those things. But I mean, as in, if we are very strategic in our interaction, we'll be able to, as in, tell me, how was your pharmacy posting? What is there? What do people do? Just you want to have an idea, because in the process of interacting, that's when you find out that the pharmacist will tell you that we have sales reps that come to my place. If you interact with the store officer, you tell you that there's this person that comes to supply reagents to me. Do you know he's a medical laboratory scientist? You may not know, but when you interact, you now realize that the person that comes to teach the scientists about new equipment is a laboratory scientist that is an equipment specialist, that is into installation of equipment. In the process of talking to the person that comes to repair equipment, you realize that the biomedical engineer, beyond being, he even had a background in medical laboratory science. So that interaction exposes you. So that's one thing I'll do. Once you've exposed yourself to this, the next thing I ask people to do is look for the one that interests you. Because I believe that you do well if you find passion in that thing you're doing. If you if you expose yourself to so many things, if you don't find joy in that thing, drop it and move to the next one. Exposing is just to find the one you find passionate. Because the truth is that if you're not passionate about something, it becomes a burden. You understand? So, in the midst of this exposure, look for the one that you enjoy it. Like the young lady, she enjoyed when we gave her those QCs to check, and when she had to understand these results, did not pass calibration, did not pass QC. Oh, yeah, you send the scientist back to the lab. Oh, yeah, go and recalibrate your machine, go and troubleshoot. Why did QC not pass? Somebody else will see it as QC has not passed today. But she was excited about the whole process of when QC does not pass. When she checks the graph, they will tell the scientist, the person that was in charge, will tell her that we have to, the QC officer will tell her that means they are not approved to start running patient sample for today. They have to go back and troubleshoot, check their water, check reagent, check calibration, check. She was interested. She said she found that interesting. So you understand. So when you find out what is interesting to you in the midst of all these things you've exposed yourself to, you ask yourself, who are people? These days we have access to internet. Who are? You just got type library scientists that are colleague or QC officers, or you just want to find out how, or you go to ChatGPT, Gemini, any of these apps. How can I be? What are the industries in this my area that I can explore? So because somebody could find joy in molecular, and you decide that you want to stay in the laboratory and you want to specialize in molecular, molecular diagnosis. Do you get it? Everybody mustn't move out of the bench, but I believe that in that bench role, you should be able to draft and say, this is the kind of scientist I want to be. So even if I'm going to be a scientist, I'm going to be a scientist that is on the bench with value. And what makes me valuable is when they see that beyond just running the test, there are so many things I can add. And once they know that beyond just running tests, there's many things you can add. Even when you're going to look for a job, it's not every lab you apply, it's not every lab you accept job. You understand? Because you already know your value. So you even tell yourself that these are the laboratories I can work in. When I graduated, people like Synlab and Sebalancet, they've not really come up. So that's why I didn't have options like saying I work in Synlab and Sebalancet. I had to say the only laboratories I saw that had standard then were the laboratories in the oil and gas industry, because their owners could fund and standardize the laboratory. You understand? So I told myself, all this government that will come and be doing cut and join counts me out. You understand? So,
Yeah.
but now the government laboratory they've improved. Thank God for, innovations. I'm very happy for where they are now. A lot of innovations have come. They now have automated machines. They now have, a lot of things. So when I graduated, where the state at which the government hospitals laboratory were and where they are now are not the same. So at this point, I will not, if I had graduated, I won't say I may not want to work in the government hospital, because I know that there's much growth in the government system now. As of that time I graduated, everything was still manual. There were so many things that were not there. But thank God for, the new generation of leadership we've had. They've been able to, get this because then when I did my internship, the only automated analyzer they had, we did not even enter the room. They locked the room where they kept it. So how will I want to? It was only certain people that are allowed to. In short, throughout my stay, I don't think I even. I think it was one day that somebody I knew was inside the room. The person allowed me to enter, and it was like you enter into the gate of heaven. So I told myself, how can I stay here that it's not only the select and so you can imagine in that time, the people that worked in that place are people of value.
Mhm.
Because not every scientist they supposed into that room or that room there's a lock where you see the immunoassay machines and the rest. So those were scientists that they had rep. So you can see that even then, even if you're a medical scientist, all of them are not equal because not everybody will have had the opportunity to enter that office that had those specialized equipments. It was certain scientists that must have distinguished themselves that they gave them, the opportunity to work in such places. So even then, you will see that it was not like everybody wasn't equal. Because so it was just, I think one or twice, like I think it was once or so, someone I was on call, and the scientist that works there was on duty, and I pleaded with her, and that place had AC. AC was not everywhere in the hospital, but the place was chilled, everything. That place was like you're entering. It was like a different office in the teaching hospital. So just selected few. Those that could use the automated machines were allowed. But now, it's no more like that again. So basically, you can see that even then, there were things that distinguished people that made them to allow them to certain jobs. So I feel that once you are able to now know what you want, you can now find out what are the steps I need to take to achieve it. So that's where your 5-year plan comes in. So as I said, the first thing is expose yourself to so many opportunities so that you'll be able to know what resonates with you. The second is that when you found out what resonates with you, you need to now go and find out how will I be able to grow within that thing that resonates with me? What is the things I need to acquire? Trainings, mentorship, certifications, whatever it is, and you are intentional about acquiring it. And then when you know it, you ask yourself, what are the organizations? Where are the places I want to work with this particular area I want to, major in? Is it in the hospital? Is it in the, maybe sometimes you may find out that you want to major in embryology. That means you are targeting fertility clinics. So so beyond having a career path, you need to know where the industry, that career path is needed. So you need to list them out. Who are the people that work there? You ask if possible, go and look for their job ads, even if the job ads have passed. Pick that job ads. What are the requirements they usually ask when they post vacancy? And ask yourself, am I fit? Can I align my CV with this thing? So you're being strategic. So that by the time you say, okay, these are the things they ask for. So if anyone you don't have, you find a way. As I said, it must not necessarily be paid courses. Some of them you can go online, get free several courses about it, free. This is so it's not that all the certificates must be that paid, but just something that shows that when they say knowledgeable about this, you have something that shows that is justified, that is showing as evidence that you're knowledgeable in those requirements they listed. Just like the way you said in the brewery industry advert you saw, you now realize that those things they were listing, you actually had it. So when you pick those things and you get them ready, so that by the time an opportunity comes, you already have your CV mapped. And I tell people another thing again is don't be rigid. Even if you desire this, and in the course of moving, you see another opportunity, there is room to divert. I'm not someone that believes that if I this is this. No, in that your 5-year plan, be flexible. Be flexible. Let your eyes be open. And network. Go for conferences. You meet people. You understand? When you meet people, I was speaking with someone. She said one of her mentees was able to get a job because he went for a conference, and when he went for that conference, he was able to, she was able to introduce him to different people in the conference. And so one of them asked her, you're interested in this? He said, yes. Supply, send your CV. I said he was shocked. The young man is now in Roach just for going for a conference that he called her, he called her and told her that when I submitted my CV, they called me for interview and everything, and I passed. And now as a medical lab scientist, he's in Roche and he's going to be earning cool money in Roche. So, and it was because he stepped out of his conference zone and went for a conference. So networking, I know it's not everything you get by online. So if there are opportunities to network, you have conferences, you go. You understand? Because you don't know who you can meet. So that's basically what I would say in terms of what I would advise a young scientist that just there's a young scientist or a young medical laboratory science student or the one that just graduated on how to go about their 5-year plan.
Thank you very, very much. I myself, I'm learning from this. I'm still learning that. Well, it's amazing to hear all of this word that you are giving out. Amazing. And it really serves as a good guide, right? Because some people after school they're like, what do I do? Should I go and just attach myself in one public health laboratory and be managing there? By the time they spend 2, 3 years, they start complaining like there's no work,
Yes.
there's no that. Meanwhile, it's just maybe you are short-sighted, you are not seeing beyond the bench. You are not seeing beyond the bench. That's very, very true. Now, talking about skill, the advice session is not finished. Talking about skills, right? You know, it's not about the technical skills that you need to operate in a facility, not just in a laboratory setting, even in other settings. There are skills, some skills that the skill set that you need to maybe have or acquire to enable you navigate through maybe a particular job post or a role. So what are some, let me break it down. What are the very most important skills that you tell somebody to have prerequisite before you are getting into that next job opportunity?
The first one is someone that has good interpersonal relationship that can work in a team. There are some persons that you don't want them in your team at all. They're not a good fit. You need someone that has a good. So if you're someone that is too, that's why I said we should have flexibility. So your ability to, even if you decide that this is the path I want to take, someone that is willing to see that, okay, sometimes this path I'm going is not working for me. Let me be flexible to bend. Some persons, they don't have that interpersonal relationship. They are always in the defensive mode.
Yeah.
And that's not good. And that's what happens. And most medical laboratory scientists, you know, because of this ideology that other healthcare sector members want to oppress us, we have this defensive mode. So you feel that the doctor wants to attack you, the
Yeah.
nurse. So sometimes even when you are being, corrected for something that is genuinely important, you are not listening to understand and respond. You are just thinking of this person wants to attack me. So you are not able to learn from that experience. So I feel that one of the things we need to have is good interpersonal relationship and the ability to work in a team because that will help you navigate your working relationship. Then the next thing is communication skills. That's behind the scene. It's one thing that has spoiled us. Because we have this belief that the medical laboratory scientist works behind the scene, we feel that it's an excuse for us not to interact, not to communicate. So we don't know how important it is to communicate with our clients, our patients, our colleagues in every work environment, even to sell yourself. Because if you don't have good communication skill, you may meet someone, like I said, go for conferences and network. If you don't know how to communicate, you go to the conference, you just go and sit down. You can't even, if someone asks you about yourself, you can't even say anything. And because of that mindset that actually as a medical laboratory scientist, we used to stay work behind the scenes. So you never knew that you need in this current generation, this current era, you will need to network yourself to grow. Do you know that even when it comes to leadership in the hospital, if you are not someone that knows how to network and communicate well, they can pass you for promotion and positions because of poor communication skill. So I think the next one that I would say is it's very important to know how to communicate as in your communication skills. So then at the top of my mind again, another thing I would say is necessary is problem solving skills. Problem solving. You know that in the laboratory, you may have two scientists, and one science, there's a particular one that if an equipment breaks down now, that scientist cannot even speak with the biomedical engineer online and troubleshoot that machine analyzer. But you see the next one that if the equipment breaks down, immediately they will put a call to the other one. We will have to wait. I call the supervisor. Ma, the machine has broken down. We've not done fasting blood sugar for the day. As in, they don't know how to solve problems. But you see the next one. Once the equipment breaks down, immediately he already knows the biomedical engineer's contacts for the facility. He's calling the biomedical engineer, please, my equipment are broken down. The biomedical engineer can, online even direct me and say, okay, do this, and the equipment starts up. That's why they say we are multifaceted. See, but upon that multifaceted, there are still so many scientists that cannot solve simple day-to-day problems. And if you want to work beyond the bench, you really need to know how to solve problems, because those industries you are entering into, because medical laboratory science is not like the core roadmap, you are applying your skills in medical laboratory science to fit into those jobs. You should be able to know how to translate your skills to solve problem in another sector. It's not like the one that they've taught you how to do. If it's maybe example malaria heredity, how many ml of blood to this. No, these are opportunities that you should be able to know how to troubleshoot. Like if you're going to work as a QC and QA officer in an oil and gas industry, when their control does not, the standard does not pass, you should be able to know what to do. You need to think on your feet. But so that problem solving, a lot of people lack. Not a lot of people, some certain people have. In the course of leadership, in my lab, I can divide it into those that know how to solve problems and those that don't know how to solve problems. And because you don't know how to solve problems, people don't give you opportunities. Those people that don't know how to solve problems, sometimes they complain, they're not giving, I can't give you those opportunities because you don't know how to solve problems. So even sometimes when you have trainings that are very beneficial that they will get free, I'll be like, why waste money to train this person that will come back and they cannot apply what they were taught because they cannot solve anything with it. There's no need. You understand? It's just that recently, as you grow in leadership, you now realize that we have different levels of um, acceleration and assimilation. So, as you grow, you understand when it comes to coaching and mentoring that there are some you have to handle as babies. So even this period, some of those people that don't know how to solve problems, I had to give them little responsibility. I said, let me start with little responsibility and start coaching them and seeing if they'll be able to develop the skill. By the time I come back from leave, I'll be able to assess them and see if
Very
they're
good.
able to deliver or not. So I think if you're at the top of my mind, the three, I'll say one, good interpersonal relationship. Because even when you go for and you want to network, if you don't have good interpersonal relationship, you can't network. Then the second one, communication. You cannot overemphasize communication skills. We need to know it. Then the third one at the top of my mind is problem solving, because wherever you are, beyond your routine job, you should be able to solve problems that come to your day to day. It's such a person when they ask people to nominate. If I want to nominate someone for something that is of value, I remember the problem solver. I will not remember the person that um finished their fasting, finished their patient's test result quick. Oh. Because I think that's your basic responsibility. I actually remember the person that when the laboratory had certain things, that person was able to think on her feet,
Mhm.
and do something. Because that's the person I want. Because I want that information. The person will come and, expand it for me. So I think a problem solver. So those are the skills that come to the top
Great.
of my mind.
Interpersonal skills, communication, and problem solving. Amazing. I'm jotting. I want my friend to
I'm
take
the
on
one
this.
that says, I want to wait till my boss comes. There are people
Huh?
like that.
Yeah, sure.
Some people will say, I want to wait. If something spoils, they'll be like, I'm not the one that spoils it, though. They will just, they
Give
don't
us
even,
that.
if I had once it's four, maybe if their job is 4 o'clock, they've not done fasting sugar for the day, maybe the analyzer broke down. maybe you have a manual colorimeter, a spectrophotometer that you have not used for like maybe some time, but it's there. Your previous analyzer before you got an automated machine, and the automated machine broke down. This person will not be able to remember that, oh, we have a backup somewhere that this semi-automated that we used to use before. And now let me just use it and run, urgent samples that cannot steal or something. That person can just wait 4 o'clock and close work.
And they are carrying
The
their bag
person has gone.
and they are running. Very, very true. I've met a lot of people like that because here in Cameroon, I work as a quality assurance mentor and consultant. So over 9 laboratories, my experience
Uh,
time is horrible. You go to some facilities and you are like, are these people even serious about what they're doing? Because
yes.
there are some periods where you receive external quality control sample, you give them the sample, analyze. You're the one to follow them up. What are the results? You did what came out. What? Oh, you're like, Jesus. What are you really doing? You have to run after them. You have to ask them to send it to you to verify whether they filled the form adequately. You're like always behind them, like little children. Like these are people who
Yes.
in that facility for more than 5 years. And I'm
Yes.
just coming there maybe for a period of 6 months since we are just posted around the country to four
Yes.
laboratories. And you're like, these people, have they not been doing this particular activity for some years now? Why are they behaving as if it's something new?
Yes.
There are some of the challenges that we face on the field. And well, you have to keep training them, you mentor them, and like they say, continuous professional development. You cannot stop from doing that.
You cannot stop.
So that's it. We're getting closer to the end of the session.
Uh,
I'm sure I would like to ask question about the future, right? I asked if the former question that I asked was about a 5-year guide plan to professional. Now, looking at the future ahead of us, especially for medical laboratory scientists, what are those three competencies that you tell somebody that look at this particular skill or competence, make sure you learn that. Uh, Make sure you learn this, make sure you learn that. Like for example, the advent of technology now. So what are you going to tell that particular professional that will enable him to be prepared ahead of time for the future in this particular sector of activity?
you know that the first one is going to be how to use artificial intelligence to make your work smarter and faster.
So,
So I think every professional, medical laboratory scientist, any other person beyond medical laboratory scientists, we need to be able to know how to use artificial intelligence to make our work better, improve our work process. So currently, beyond just carrying out your clinical assignments, we should be able to know other things we do that we can use AI. I'll give you a typical example. Recently, I went to in my organization, we do billing and we are using EMR, but because some persons have issues, maybe sometimes the network issues. So I met the EMR officer and he was like, he has to type it manually because when it goes to the back end, that's so because of sometimes the EMI was down, doctors will still be consulting that he realized that they don't capture everything. That sometimes there'll be some missing patient information. And I asked him, now why will you type this thing one by one? He was like, Ma, what do I mean? I said that do you know that if it's not because he's actually typing it from the record sheet, that's the
yeah.
manual sheet. I said that this is something that you'd have just snapped with your phone
And
and uploaded on AI. I told Oblen to tell AI that you should transcribe that data sheet with
yeah,
into Excel and download it.
in 2 seconds, you have your
In
sheet.
2 seconds, you've had that table. And he's telling me that that is why he's closing late because after work closes, he now has to start typing all the ones that they missed. So when I told him, it was now like, oh, so I said, but you do know that because he was actually typing from a snapped, because he had to snap the record sheet to compare with the back end. So anyone that is not there. And I told him, do you know that you can command AI to screen this your one and say, anyone that is not there,
Yeah.
put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh.
I said, it will save your work. And as I said, in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So
Sure.
if you know how to, so basically, in all our jobs we do, to
Mm-hmm.
the extent of preparing reports, there was a particular report that I was told to do on Tuesday. And people were they sent it to me, and in less than 30 minutes I was done with the report, because basically I just fed all the information to my organization, because funny enough, my organization even has an AI co-pilot that helps us, but most people that work in the organization don't even know how to use the co-pilot. So I fed it in less than how many minutes Copilot had generated my report for me. I just had to take my time to proofread it. So the 30 minutes was me proofreading to check, one or two things
Yeah.
to be correct. But this is a particular report. The person that sent me that report, if the person knew that the person could use Copilot to type that report, because they're sending me from supply chain to put some things. I know that if they knew how to use Copilot to do that report, that person wouldn't have given me that assignment. But because the person didn't know that that co-pilot that is in our office app, that's the reason the organization gave us the co-pilot was to help us, streamline all these mundane things, all these repetitive tasks, helping us typing reports, these things like that. So, like they said, we don't even need secretaries because we have co-pilot. But I know that that lady did not know how to use co-pilot. That's why she sent it to me. And usually it will take you like 1 week to finish that report, and I'm shocked. They'll be shocked that I gave them in 30 minutes, and they'll be there saying, "Ah, this woman is very intelligent." They'll say that I'm very intelligent, but it's because I know how to use AI to streamline my work. So basically, if there's anything people need to know beyond that, even in your terms of diagnosis, I said a lot of diagnostic processes now, artificial intelligence is going to be infused into it.
Yeah.
So you should be able to know how you can be relevant in that situation. So you need to understand AI so that when you understand how AI works, you find out where your own relevance cannot be overtaken by artificial intelligence. Then the second thing I need, I would say that a modern medical laboratory scientist needs now is visibility. It doesn't look like a skill that will come into your mind, but currently, when I say promote self-promotion, or when I say putting yourself out there, content creation should be for everybody. It's you must not necessarily be a content creator in terms of coming to do all these skits and the rest. But I tell person, look at Tony Olemelu, as in
Really?
the CEO founder of UPA bank that is now all over Africa. We can see that he's a CEO of such a great bank, but he still deals on visibility.
Yeah.
Dangote still has people that manages his social media. Not only I can bet you that he's not the one that manages his social media. Dangote is not the one,
Yeah.
but they are able to. Even Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, she has a social media page because why? You need to tell your, so you need to be able to tell your story.
Mhm.
Yesterday, I had a meeting with a company that is in this thing, US, and they needed to get a perspective of diagnosis laboratory in terms of quality management system in Nigeria. The
Yeah.
perspective of how the quality management system is being implemented in laboratories in Nigeria. So they needed somebody that would just give them a broad overview how things are here. And you'll be surprised why and when I looked at these professionals, this is the founder of CarePoint. CarePoint is is one of the major companies that produce QC QA. That's most of the quality controls that come out in the world, all the quality controls that come out in the world is actually manufactured in UK. I mean US.
Mhm.
Yes, the reason why is because so even when what happens is that different brands rebrand their quality control specimens. So you see all these QC materials you see, there are few people that produce QCs. So even when you see maybe glucose standard and the rest, you can produce the reagent, but you cannot produce the standard.
Mhm.
The reason why is because they want laboratory tests to be standardized. So if we allow so many people produce QC, it will not pass because you'll be having different values. So what happens that there are few companies in the world, and they're all in America, that are approved to produce QC. So they produce certain QC so that anybody that produces a reagent, you get their QC or QC material from them, and they will now bottle it. So when you see all these QC materials, they're actually just branded for that company.
Yeah.
And if they don't do that, our laboratory tests will not be standardized in the world because you'll be having different variations. So that's why they want our QC materials for all our reagents to be coming from settings. So like maybe these people are doing immunology, this one, so settings. So anybody that wants to manufacture, you when you manufacture a reagent, you go and pick QCs from them and you brand it.
Mhm.
So imagine such a company that has one of the approved brands to produce QCs in the world, get point, looking for a laboratory scientist that understands quality management system and so that they can understand, how our applications is in Nigeria, and they reached out to me via LinkedIn, is because I was visible.
Yeah. Mm.
And I know that I'm not the only medical laboratory scientist, and this is someone. When I looked at the pedigree of these people reaching out to me, I was like, how you can't relate, as in that. How did such a person
Mhm.
see me and feel that and see me as a specialist in quality management system? Is because I've been able to, showcase myself in this area, or as in a little way. And I'm not so active in LinkedIn compared to even TikTok. But it's possible that, sometimes people see my TikTok and they now go and check me on LinkedIn. That's why I still, because it's easy for me to
Please,
create
let me just stop you. What's the TikTok name?
my TikTok name is the same name, Imomoemi Thompson.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, my full name.
I'll
Yeah.
make sure I follow.
Yeah. So for me, that's to show you the importance of, you
Mhm.
know, people visibility. So if there's anything a medical laboratory scientist needs in this present generation is beyond understanding artificial intelligence, you need to be visible. Then if you need, apart from being visible, you need to be able to be knowledgeable. It's one thing to be visible, it's another thing to be knowledgeable. When I mean knowledgeable, we need to now understand beyond just, our core thing, what you are doing every day. We need to start understanding what is happening around us. Example, I said, you're running a fasting blood sugar. You need to know why you are running that fasting blood sugar. You need to know the impact of that, your results on the patient life, because that is what is going to give you a competitive edge in this area of AI. Because when AI takes away the routine jobs we do, the scientist that will be left to be the one that can be able to, if you're on the bench, someone that can be able to interpret that result. They'll be able to apply to clinical picture that goes beyond the ordinary. So that's why I said knowledgeable. So and knowledgeable comes in so many areas. So wherever area you find yourself in as a medical laboratory scientist, this present dispensation, you need to be an avid reader that understands the happening. Like I'm in the healthcare sector, I'm in the oil and gas sector. I should know what's in, the happens in the oil and gas industry. I should know what this Ukraine and Iraq war, how does it affect
State of the
my
month.
the business? You understand? So we shouldn't just, because most times we just get so focused on the tests we are carrying out in. We don't have knowledge of happenings. And how does this help us to push ourselves? Now, when I say we need to, go out for conferencing and networking,
Mhm.
if you don't have anything to say, if you're not knowledgeable, you cannot say anything.
Sure, sure.
So in advanced area of you go somewhere and someone's telling you about artificial intelligence, and currently because AI is coming in, you need to
Mhm.
start knowing about AI governance. You need to start knowing the advantages and disadvantages. You need to know. So when you get to and someone talk about artificial intelligence, what is happening, what's the pros and the cons, you should be able to intelligently answer. You may not know everything, but you should be able to have an idea. But not when someone asks you, what is this? And what is happening? How does it impact your job as a scientist? No, you'll be like, "Ah, it's not my business, so it doesn't concern me." So I think at this era now, every medical laboratory scientist needs to be someone that reads beyond just what we are trained. Because I think what happens is that once we graduate from the university, most of us stop reading the general because if you're in the teacher hospital, you're doing the same thing every day, fasting blood sugar, fasting blood sugar. I have people that I tell them, if you're really fasting blood sugar, go and read about the various types of diabetes.
Mhm.
Don't just understand fasting. Know the various types of diabetes. You understand, so that you understand how. Okay, what's the impact of my results on a diabetic patient? So, what are the principles they've taught you in school? How will I apply that principle to maybe the machine? So, if I'm talking to a biomedical engineer, I can be able to tell them, this is facing Lambert's law or things like that. So, I feel that every skill for the future medical laboratory scientists, we shouldn't be like the old ones that once they graduated, they closed their books. They didn't bother reading. Some of them didn't even further their education. No, this generation of medical laboratory scientists, you need to be knowledgeable, both in, it's not everything, it's not all about always acquiring a certificate or a degree. You should be able to read for knowledge sake. So that it makes you, intelligent, competitive. And these days it's easy to read with your phone. Even if you go to LinkedIn, you will see, if you don't even need to stress, if people write on various topics, they write on various things that you can read it and get more information. So I feel that, that's one thing we need to do. So I think those three things.
Oh, thank you very, very much. I was so glad when you mentioned AI, the use of artificial intelligence, because I'm so used to using it. Sometimes I sometimes call it my lover.
Some people say AI is not good, it's going to take over our jobs. Some people are scared.
That's true. Because for me, what I do currently is that the most challenging part of this podcast is to get the guests to accept, right? After the guest has come, the appearance, everything from emailing to invitation letters, all those letters that you all receive was
Yes.
by AI.
So
So
imagine if you have to sit down and start drafting, you know how long it will take you?
I think that was about because I have to proofread before sending them, proofread
Yeah.
the email and the invitation letter. It took me I sent about 20 invitation on a roll, and it took me about 30 minutes. Just
Sit.
imagine I had to sit, type. So
Right.
that's a 3 days job. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah, has made the work much easier. So why not taking advantage of it? Some people are still demonizing it, which is very bad.
Yes. Some people that's what they tell you, that it's taking over our jobs.
Oh, okay.
I said it will take over the jobs of those that don't know how to use it. Because people will start employing people that know how to use AI because they know that such people will be able to achieve more,
Mhm.
within a shorter period of time.
And yeah, very, very true. Very, very true. Thank you very much for that. At this
Yes.
point, I would love you to tell us about your program, Beyond the Bench, our audience.
Okay, okay. Beyond the Bench is no more just my program. Before now, it was a program organized by Dr. Amy Thompson. Actually, the dream came after I had, I think, two programs. The Mission, I was one of the first speakers in the part one of this program by Mission Dynamics and I think Sekiwo. I'm trying to get the
Oh,
pronunciation of the name well.
mhm.
So I was one of the first, I think I was actually the first speaker in that program. It's their laboratory professional development program. I was the speaker one of that program. So after the program, we had a feedback. We shared some feedback online, and I went through the feedback form, and I noticed that a lot of persons were interested in not just they were like, yes, they enjoyed my session so much, and I was able to open their eyes to the vast opportunities that medical laboratory scientists had. Some of them were even like, they wish they had heard this earlier on in their career. They know that they wouldn't have been where they were. But I still had a lot of comments that said they needed to go deeper, that Most times when you are having a program for like maybe 2 hours thereabouts, now we just listed so many career paths,
Yeah.
but the ability to be able to say, okay, let us handle this career path and teach someone step by step that this is what I did based on my own experience. So these are the recommended certifications because I'm not a subject matter expert on all the specialties that medical laboratory scientists can, operate in beyond the bench. But based on my position, I've been able to, work with a lot of scientists that have, moved beyond the bench. So I see it, but I'm not in everywhere. I've been able to move out to quality, branch out to quality management system and infection control. But there are people that have branched out to other fields. So when I saw that feedback that we want people to show us how, so that if I'm interested in HSC, I can be able to know, okay, this is the way based on an experience of an HSC officer that is doing great, being a medical laboratory scientist. This is what he did. It's easy to tell someone like you now, if someone asks you, how can I, go into a quality management system officer? It's easy for you because that is the area you are able to branch out from the regular, bench practice. But there are other people that may want IPC, they may want public health, they want NGA. So when I looked at that feedback form and over the time, a lot of once or twice they've called me for that same topic and the people asking, it now dawned on me that really I can set up a program that deals with this. But as I said, with my experience with free program, I told myself that I wanted people that are serious. So that by the time, if when you invest your money, you are serious. Even if there are not so many, let it be that the few are able to impact. They will be able to say, "This is my testimony that I've been able to, build my career and grow." And we can be able to have evidence because I don't just want a large number of people and there is no actual evidence of beyond the bench actually working. So, that was what, I had already been thinking about it. I was, because of my busy work schedule, so many things, but I just told myself that I needed to carry out this vision that people have, seen it as a need and as a problem. So
Yeah.
that was what bettered up the Beyond the Bench masterclass. But as I said, in the process of, reaching out to people that, and participate in this particular first edition, that's when I came across. I'd really seen Nancy, we relate online, and she's someone that I admire so much. So I wanted her to be among the first speakers, and I wanted her to handle business development and strategy because her field is not a field that a lot of scientists are into. Whereby organizations bring their business to you and you're able to help them become profitable. Imagine a scientist helping different organizations become profitable. So I feel that that's something that is very rare. So I wanted to and it's really a field that, funny enough, she's working from home and she's doing so well. So I felt that this is a particular, field I want people to learn from because she moved from the bench, she entered into sales, she entered it. So she has a very beautiful career that I feel that if she's able to teach people step by step, because she handles that topic beyond the bench, but the same way like me is vast. But this time she's telling you means, you know, business development and strategy and working for international clients. And this is how I did it. How I moved from the bench. She worked in, I think, Synlab first, either Synlab or Lancet. She worked in one of them, they moved to their sales department like that. So, okay, she also worked in ISN. She worked in ISN, not Synlab. She worked in ISN and
Mm.
how she moved. So that was when I now realized that she also had the same passion as I do, and since it was something that we are both passionate about, we have the same drive and the same vision. We've decided that it's not going to let her not just stop in being a speaker. Let it be a vision that's, they say one will chase 1,000, two puts 10,000 to flight, as a child of God. So, but, instead of working in isolation, with the story you talked about, same lab, five scientists coming together, there's no need, competing. Since we have the same vision, we decided to collaborate and make it something that will be mind blowing for medical laboratory scientists that participate. I don't want to share everything, but gradually within the week, as weeks are going, will be because there's some beyond extending this first edition to six, so 6 career paths. There are so many things that opportunities for medical laboratory scientists, like the opportunity of show you how to network. I talked about, the ability of utilizing conferences and to be able to, network and get job opportunities. So we've opened our eyes where we can be able to, have a pool of scientists that when these our network asks us, we need certain things in certain places, because based on our position, we'll be able, our influence. We have people that come to us and like, we need someone in this field, we need someone this that's a medical laboratory scientist. So I believe that when we're able to, have these people pass through us, there are people that we can trust and say, okay, I've mentored this person, I know what this person can do, I can recommend this person. So beyond just the training, these are people that will be having access to our network, to our pool of to job offers and things like that. So there's so much, there's so much that, when we're discussed, I'm like, wow, this, what we are doing now, what I had was a myopic vision, but with this joint synergy is beyond, it's actually a great thing. So anybody that registers, know that you're getting value beyond just the lecture and the training and hearing from the speakers. You're going to be getting so much than that. And those are within, when it gets closer, we'll be able to tell people what are the things that we have in stock. So that's just all about it. So as I said, the Beyond the Bench Masterclass Series Edition 1 is taking place. We are looking at September, but registration is still ongoing. It's taking place in September. As I said, we don't want, when I spoke to her, we don't want the class to even be too much, because with all what we have in mind, it's better we have series upon series than one big class, because if it's so big, you find out that you will not be able to impact as much in terms of the after training support that
Yeah.
we need to give, because right now after the masterclass, what we have in plan is going to extend beyond the masterclass, whereby we continue to support the members until they're able, if they are practical, because we don't want those that when I say do this, you will not do, say write CV, you will not be able to give them the best. So that's just a brief summary about it.
Wow, thank you very, very much. Right, I see that there was a rescheduling of the program from the conversation that you've had with Dr. Nancy, which is amazing. And it gives us ample time for me to share because I was currently engaged. Part of a network of professionals here, be it juniors, other professionals who can benefit from this particular program. So I'm working so hard so that they register just like I did. I want everyone,
Yes.
especially in this context, medical laboratory scientists are so, I would say, so frustrated. Some are moving to other professions are like, because I would say it's now that I would say the past 2 years, that was the moment that I really found passion. Really,
Yes.
my eyes were really open to what medical laboratory science is all about. And I'm really enjoying myself. From the onset of
Yes.
this podcast, I was like, wow, what an interesting profession. So I'm not regretting my decision
Yes.
joining this particular profession. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Come to the end of this particular session. But before letting you go, I just want two keynote messages for our audience, just two.
Okay. Just to let, what would be the first one? The first thing I would say is, what will I say first? Okay, find yourself. Find yourself. So what I mean, find yourself, what you're passionate about in this profession.
Mhm.
Find what you're passionate about in this profession. And the second one is, look for a mentor in that area that you're passionate about. The mentor may not be someone that is close to you, but
Mhm.
you can be a mentor online, because when you are passionate about something, if you have someone you're looking towards that has succeeded in that area, it gives you drive.
Mhm.
Because if you've not seen anybody that has succeeded in that area, sometimes trying to bring your passion to reality can be demoralizing along the way.
Yeah.
So when you find your passion, look for a mentor that you can look up to. And your mentor must not always be someone that knows you. It could just be someone that you're following them online,
Mhm.
listening to the words they share, but just someone that gives you that drive and that encouragement to push, and say that if this person can succeed as a medical laboratory scientist, then that person does not have two heads. I too, I can succeed.
Wow, thank you very, very much. Very important keynote messages. Very, very. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Amy.
You know,
So
thank
appreciated.